Hello everybody, I'm Jack with Nathaniel Wood. How you doing today?
I'm very good, thank you, mate. I'm sorry that I kept you waiting.
No worries, no worries. I'm happy to.
I forgot, guys. I forgot that was.
It happens to the best of us. It
doing an
happens.
interview.
So, how's the fight camp been?
Fight camp's been perfect. I mean, everyone always says that, but you know, I've got to that point in my career now where I know exactly what works for me. You know, I know that I need an 8-week fight camp to be the best fighter that I can be on fight night. Going up a weight means that I'm able to eat what I want so far. You know, I'm not really having to struggle much with the weight cut. Obviously, I do give up a weight advantage because of that, but it means that I'm happy during camp. I'm healthy. I'm able to properly replenish. And yeah, I'm just literally ready now to go in and get the job done.
Brilliant. Has there been any like specific aspects that you've been training for this fight camp?
So, fighting Jose Delgado, he's quite a tall, long-limbed fighter. So, on the record, it's got him down as 5'11". 74-inch reach, so he's quite tall, quite gangly, if you like. So for my sparring, I've got a lot of guys that are mimicking that style. You know, obviously I'm sparring with the taller guys. I'm very fortunate that we've got a lot of guys here that are the same weight as me, and they're 6 foot, 6'1". So, you know, I'm very used to getting in them rounds that are kind of mimicking my opponent. You know, I'm very fortunate that at GB Top Team here, we've got so many pros on the mat that, you know, finding sparring partners isn't difficult. So, yeah, other than that, you know, just the usual whatever I do to get in the best shape of my life.
So it wasn't difficult trying to like find someone to mimic him, because you know sometimes fighters, they struggle to find people to like mimic their opponents if they're like a bit weird, like a weird style.
Luckily, we've got about 3 guys that are similar to him.
So it's perfect then.
Yeah,
literally like he was made for you, basically.
Mate, literally, yeah. So obviously with MMA, you never know what's going to happen. So this guy might come out and try and take me down, and then it's like, oh, this isn't what we expected. So obviously, I could go in there and decide that I want to take him down, where he's looking at me as probably just a striker. So yeah, that's the blessing about MMA. You know, it's that you can you never know what's going to happen. So there is that element of surprise to it, which gets the juices flowing. You know, it keeps that excitement going.
I wanted to talk about, because you got a newborn at home, don't you? So how's it been sort of balancing fight camp with like dad duties and everything? Has it been tough? Have you had to like sort of adapt a little bit?
If I'm honest, I find it easy. The reason being, I've got an amazing wife. You know, she's an absolute trooper. She's doing all the hard part. Our newborn has got something called colic, which is like, you know, the babies just get sort of like trapped wind, and they're just very like screaming constantly. That was worse for sort of the first month of her being born. And then as soon as fight camp started, she's got a bit better. So that meant that I can actually sleep properly. And yeah, if anything, I think it's an extra weapon in my arsenal, because the motivation that you get when having a child, you know, I'm sure people out there will know that have had kids, the motivation is just, you know, sky high right now. So for me to be able to train is so much easier knowing that I've got 2 girls at home to provide for.
So was it like difficult the first time when you had like your first child? You said like the second one, because you sort of know what to do now.
Yeah, well, so our first child had something called CDH, which meant that she was in hospital for the first month. She had to have an operation when she was 2 days old, you know, intensive care unit. There was all the sort of, you know, would she make it, that sort of thing. So it was very stressful. That's why I had a bit of time out from fighting. But she's thriving, you know, she's doing really well. The doctors, when she was born, were amazing. So they gave us that reassurance that we needed, you know, obviously going through health conditions like that. But I mean, our firstborn, Arla, she was the quietest baby in the world. You know, she'd come home, you'd get a full night's sleep. Layla, this one, complete opposite. You know, she likes to keep us up at night. But as I say, my wife's amazing. So she takes the hard bit, and she just says, look, get your sleep, get your training in, and go and earn some money.
So you like try to like nap throughout the day, sort of, just so you can like catch up on like missed sleep?
I always nap anyway. So my strength conditioning coach said to me a long time ago, he said, Nath, if you get the naps in, it will increase athletic performance. And I was thinking, what, a nap? Like, I'm not going to a nap. I'm 28 years old, you know, I ain't doing that. Mate, I cannot function without a nap now.
It's changed your life, lad, basically.
Yeah, it's changed my life, but sometimes it's a pain in the arse, because if I don't have my nap, I get irritable.
So do you feel it in training, like it makes you feel like better, like more?
Yeah, so first session in the morning, done, come home, have a nap. For my second session, feel brand new. If I don't have a nap, come second session, I'm a bit like, you know, a bit brain foggy, a bit fatigued. Maybe I'm not concentrating as much. Get that nap in, get a coffee in, I'm good to go.
Well, that's the secret then, isn't it? Just got a nap. That's all you got to do. Now, I want to talk about your fight with Delgado, who is a pretty brand new guy on the scene.
Mhm.
When you first got the call for that fight, did you feel a bit disrespected that you should a
Mhm.
guy of your level should be fighting in the top 15, but you got a guy who's like pretty brand new?
Mhm.
So did you feel like a bit like
Yeah. I was. My exact word that I used to my coach Brad was, "This is just pure risk, no reward.
yeah,
There is no reward for beating Jose Delgado other than I get paycheck." And that's no disrespect to him. He's had 2 fights in the UFC, one on Dana White Contender Series. I've had 12 fights in the UFC, so
yeah,
beating him doesn't put me anywhere, right? Other than maybe just bragging rights to the sort of trolls that I get messaging
yeah,
me and how good he is. Now, if you want to look right into it, he's had 2 fights in the UFC that haven't gone past the first round,
yeah,
and he had a fight in Dana White Contender Series. I haven't seen how good he is. The only fights that I've actually seen the fights were his fights prior, which I wasn't super impressed. But he's come to the UFC and he's knocked guys out and he's made an absolute statement. Guess that's what the UFC want. You know, they're like, I don't know if they're using me as a gatekeeper or not. I'm only 32 years old, but so be it. You know, at the end of the day, I'm a prize fighter and this is who I've been given, and, you know, my paycheck remains the same. But yeah, I won't lie, I was gutted that I didn't get a top 15 or top 10, because at the end of the day, I've got dreams to chase. And
because I mean, I've seen reception online. And everyone's agreeing with you. You know, everyone's
yeah,
saying he should be fighting top 15. Like you've been in the UFC for what, 7 years now,
yeah,
and obviously they could argue, oh, because this is like like not fresh in the featherweight, but like you're still like making like your climb. But I don't know, like you see a lot of these people like are on your side for this kind of thing. But I wanted to talk about as well is that, like you said, he's barely left the first round. So do you think that your experience going to like more deep waters is going to benefit you massively in this fight?
Yes, I definitely think that, because at the end of the day, I've got so much more experience and I'm still young.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm not a 38-year-old or a 40-year-old Josh Emmett that's got experience and, you know, is obviously coming to the end of his career. I'm in my prime and I've had I think this is my 30th fight that I've had. Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know, it's like, and I've not, touch wood, not taken much damage. You know, there's been a couple of fights where I've had a bit of back and forth where people think I'm this scrappy fighter that gets into wars. There's only been, I think, 3 fights that I've come away with some damage, and that's not bad considering the amount of fights I've had. Yeah.
So I want to talk about Laurel Murphy, who you were actually scheduled to fight a couple of years ago, weren't you?
Yeah.
There's rumors that he could be fighting for a title shot at the end of the year. When do you kind of see a timeline for yourself in that position?
When I get the opportunities. This is the hardest thing, you know. It's like, I'm going to be a realist here now. There's not much difference from the guys in the top 5 to the guys just starting out in the UFC. Jose Delgado is just as dangerous as Alexander Volkanovski.
Lopez, Silva,
everyone can knock each other out. Everyone can submit each other. We are all just as good pretty much as the other person. What gets you up there is the opportunities. Let's use Diego Lopez as an example. He joined the UFC only a couple of years ago, and he's already been at that spot because his debut was against Mosva.
And he lost.
He lost, but, you know, these are skyrocketing them up. Now, this is the problem with Jose Delgado. If I beat Jose Delgado, I don't know how the ranking system works. They might still rank me maybe 15, but you're not going to jump that high. If Jose Delgado beats me, I drop down. If I was fighting, let's say, Josh Emmett, win, lose or draw, I move up because he's ranked. So that's the only sort of problem with these rankings, is that they don't take into consideration the skill set of the fighters. They just look at a number and go, okay, that guy just fought the number 1 contender. We must put him at number 4 or number 3, even though he lost. Well, to me, if you fight a top guy and you get knocked out, that doesn't do you any benefit whatsoever. And let's be honest, in MMA, there is a lot of luck to it. You know, one punch in the right direction or, you know, a right submission attempt, that could be all she wrote. And yeah, I just need the opportunities. You know, me and Lerone, we fought on the same night. I fought Andre Feely. He fought Josh. Can't remember how you say his surname. He fought a guy who I believe wasn't ranked as high as Andre Feely.
Yeah.
I beat Andre Feely. He beat Josh. He got ranked. Cool. I didn't.
Yeah.
Don't know why. Then obviously I lost my next fight. He went on to fight, I think,
Edson
Barboza, won. So then obviously got the next fight. Dan Ige won. Josh Emmett won. So he's getting the opportunities. Yeah. After Mohamed Naimov, I got Daniel Pineda. And then I got Morgan Sharia, which again, like I've said with Jose Delgado, they're not putting me up the rankings because they're not ranked fighters. So at the end of the day, I'm not the matchmaker. I can't decide who and dictate who I can and can't fight. For me, I just fight whoever they give me. It was Jose Delgado. We did say, look, is there anyone a bit higher ranked, like Pitbull? You know, that would have been a great fight for me. But no, there isn't at this time. So I guess Jose Delgado is the name. And as I say, I get paid the same. And what's the saying? The cream always rises to the top.
I don't know if that's saying personally, but because Dana White's meant to be making a change to the rankings, isn't at the end of the year, I think.
I think so. Yeah.
So we can only hope that that change sort of pushes you up a little bit and like you finally get the respect you deserve a little bit.
Yeah.
Because obviously, again, like you've got so much experience, 30 fights, like you said, you should be fighting bigger names.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, Josh Emmett, that could be if you win a UFC 321, that could be a good next fight, just by pushing yourself up there. But let's talk about bantamweight, because you actually fought at bantamweight, didn't you, for a bit? And this is your 7th fight at featherweight now?
This is my, I think, 8th, if you consider I fought on Bellator once.
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's say 8.
So, yeah, but in the UFC, this would be my 7th. Yes, correct.
So has the door completely shut at bantamweight, or if you had like a good opportunity, would you take it?
It's definitely closed unless someone came in and offered me like a life-changing opportunity, which I don't think that's ever going to happen unless I was like the UFC featherweight champion. But if I'm the UFC featherweight champion, I'm like, I'm not cutting back down to bantamweight. So yeah, that door's long closed.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I think there's that video of you with that weight cut and you're looking like super lean. So I don't blame you on that. But speaking of bantamweight, did you see the Merab fight last weekend?
I didn't see the fight. I saw the highlights.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Yeah, Merab's a stud, man.
He's a killer.
Merab's a G.
So now, tough question here. If you had a choice to fight the bantamweight champion Merab or the featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski, who would you choose and why?
Definitely Volkanovski, so I don't have to cut weight. And yeah, that's pretty much it. You know, whoever is the top of the division is where I want to get to. At the end of the day, we want to test ourselves, right? I've got nothing to prove to other people. It's just what I can prove to myself. Now, if I can beat the guy who's got the title, that means I am the best fighter on the planet at that weight category. So, yeah, whatever weight I am, whoever the champ is at the time, that's the goal.
Perfect. So, I mean, would you say that like he's a good stylistic matchup for you if you were to fight him?
Yes, I think so. I think Volkanovski, no disrespect to him, I don't think is in his prime anymore. You know, he's obviously out of that stage. Fighting him in his prime would have been a long night in the office. But yeah, you know, I believe that I can fight and beat anyone in the world. I just have to have that certain luck on my side the night. And that's the same way that I would get beaten. You know, the way that I will get beaten is if I make a mistake. You know, it's like a game of chess.
Game of inches, isn't it?
Game of inches. You know, if you make that one mistake and your opponent capitalizes on it, cool. If your opponent's the better man on the night, so be it. But unfortunately, in this game, you only get that one night to prove, you know, who's the better fighter. The next day, it could be something completely different.
So I'm gonna rhetorical. I snap my fingers. It's the day after the fight. You're uninjured. Could we see you against a ranked opponent at the annual UFC London card?
That's the plan.
That's the plan.
I want to obviously get a good win against Jose Delgado. You know, I want to impress. I want to say, look, UFC, give me a top guy. You know, I don't want to win a split decision, or I don't want to win like a real close fight. I want to dominate. You know, I want to go in there. If the UFC want me to get finishes, you know, knockout first round, cool, uninjured. Give me a UFC London bout against a top name. Ideally, a co-main event. A co-main event would be incredible. Well, a main event would be even better. But yeah, I'm not expecting that. So, you know, a co-main opportunity would be, you know, my dream.
Do you have a specific name in mind?
I don't have a specific name, if I'm honest. Just top 15. You know, I would love to fight Pitbull. He's a big name. Fight, yeah. You know, he's obviously been the Bellator champion. I do feel that that's someone that I can realistically call out because he's only 1-1 in the UFC. You know, I'm not going to call Lerone out because Lerone's about to potentially fight for a title. Cool.
That could be a bigger fight down the line anyway.
Bigger fight down the line, but I'm realistic with it. Yeah. You know, I'm not going to call out someone when they're about to potentially fight for a title. I need to work my way up, and one day, hopefully, that comes, and we can see who the better fighter is. But yeah, until then, the more realistic call outs would be someone like Pitbull. I need to see the rankings again. I think, you know, I don't know if Josh Emmett is going to retire or not after his last fight, but maybe like a Josh Emmett, you know, someone who I can realistically call out who's on a loss, because they're not going to give me a top 10 guy that's on wins.
Yusuf Zalal would be a good fight, but I think he probably wants to fight up the rankings.
I was just about to say, someone like that would be a great fight, but I get it. He's going to want a higher ranked name. And if he doesn't, then that's like me and Jose Delgado. I would be high risk and not much reward for him. So yeah, I would definitely take the fight. You know, for me, that would be amazing. I want to get the biggest bang for my buck if I can get it. But yeah, at the same time, I'm going to be realistic. I'm not going to call out guys that I don't think are going to get matched.
So do you have an official prediction for your fight, like knockout, finish, submission?
Do you know what? I think it's going to be a TKO win for myself, but later on in the rounds. I think maybe end of the second round, maybe the third round.
I was talking about earlier, the experience, you know, you drag them down, get them tired and finish them off in the end.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I think with experience comes patience. I'm not in a rush. You know, when I get into these fights, I'm comfortable. At the end of the day, I love what I do. So even though we do like to go in, obviously, and get a quick knockout, sometimes I like fighting. You know, this is the fun part. So I'm not in a rush, but obviously I'm going to look for the opportunity. Now, people say I've fumbled on some finishes in my last few fights. At the end of the day, I'm trying to finish the guy. When I come down to, you know, people are like, oh, you should have stood him up. Well, I was trying to finish him. So, you know, at the end of the day, we only get that 1 second to make our decision. Do you follow a guy down? Do you let him up? And yeah, you know, unfortunately, the last couple I haven't managed to get the finish. So hopefully for this one, you know, I do get to finish and maybe pick up a bonus.
And last but not least, we're actually interviewing Jose Delgado next week, I think.
Okay.
So do you want to send a message to him? Just a simple message.
Just stay healthy and let's put on a show.
You heard it here, folks. Nathaniel Wood, everybody. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.